I love story. Our lives are story. We engage through story. Now that I am doing American Real, I am able to help tell other people's stories, and there's an art to that. I want people to be inspired by the content, and it's not me, it's the guest. I want them to learn from the guests, as I'm learning from the guests. And once you start to see progress, to me it's motivating and makes you want to work harder to get to the next piece. Now you're pushing us to record episodes, so I had guests in, and I'm learning the technology. And of course we had many challenges and lots of resistance, but I don't know, you just persevere, because when you have a passion for something, you find a way to get it done. I think the biggest breakthrough, I would say after episode 3. And the guests, a couple of guests came up to me after saying, "Thank you for that interview. This was the best interview of my life." That's when I knew, okay, I'm on the right track. I need to keep doing this. I need to tell people's stories. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable, because when you do it, you'll be surprised the response that you receive. Whoever sits across from you has a story to tell. So it's my job to figure out how to tell that story and how to weave it, through the conversation so it comes across as a piece of art. About a week before I was getting ready to film the first episode, I received an email from Brian Rose at London Real, and it said, "Learn how to become a podcaster." American Real was a byproduct of everything I've been working toward my entire career. And I took it very serious. And I started doing research, and I started figuring out what I would need to do to put my own podcast together. It's healthy to change things up. It's healthy to put yourself on the spot. It's healthy to be vulnerable. Power of listening, as I call it, is something very important to me. And it's something I want to help pass on to others, because I think no matter what career you're in, no matter what you do in life, it's a good trait to be a good listener. Now, if you're interested in starting your own podcast, join me in Podcast Your Passion. I'll take you through my 8-week course where I'll mentor you to build a world-class podcast. I'm only taking on a small group of people who want to share their passion through broadcasting, where I'll have you up on iTunes and YouTube within weeks so you can podcast your passion. Click on the link below for more information. This week on American Real, we bring you the one and only me. I'm joking, of course, but I did take a page out of Brian Rose from London Real's book and put myself in the hot seat. Our executive producer and director of operations, Michael Leonard, interviewed me right here in our old studio where we filmed nearly 40 episodes over the course of last year and this year. We have since moved down to our new studios. Welcome to our new studios here at American Real. We are in the same building, but now on the second floor, and as you can see, it's so new we don't even have artwork yet on the walls. We've been focused on the set and the lighting, and we've recorded several episodes already here in the new studio for season 2. So sit back, relax, enjoy an episode with myself and Michael Leonard as we talk about how American Real was born.
Welcome to American Real. This is Michael Leonard, and with me today is my very special guest, 3-time author, entrepreneur, and founder host of American Real, Roger Brooks. Roger, thank you for sitting down with me. Nice chance to talk to you and find out what makes Roger Brooks tick.
Michael, thank you. It's a pleasure, and for people that don't know, just recently, back about 4 months ago, I had the opportunity to interview Brian Rose of London Real and do this exact thing where the roles are reversed and he puts himself in the hot seat. So I thought I would piggyback on that idea and do the same, and appreciate you doing this today.
Oh, excellent. It's my honor, and I think it's a great opportunity for everybody that's enjoying the work that you're doing here.
Thank you.
So, for the folks that don't really know you, tell us about your upbringing. What has brought Roger Brooks to the person he is today?
Well, I came from, I would say, a pretty, traditional upbringing. Grew up moderately, I'd say, middle income family, and grew up in a Slovak neighborhood where it was friendly times. It was people helping each other. Truly. So the elders would be working in their gardens, and the kids would be playing in the streets and on the playgrounds, and it was a real good upbringing. My parents worked very, very hard. Both parents worked full time. So my sister and I, for the most part, we were alone a lot, and had a lot of freedom back in the 70s and 80s, which I think really helped shape who we are today. And I wasn't that great of a student, to be honest. I didn't enjoy school. I didn't want to be there. I wanted to be out. I wanted to be doing things. And from an early age, being a paper boy at 12 years old, starting to mow lawns and shovel sidewalks to earn money. Very early on, I figured out how to hustle, how to be an entrepreneur. And that led to working with my friends, making T-shirts and, doing that whole thing. I had a lawn mowing business with my cousin AJ, and we called it Brotano Brothers, Brooks and Stilitano. Nice. And we had 40 lawns at one time. Wow. And we were hustling and really figuring out, how to earn a living before we even needed to earn a living. But our parents didn't have the funds to buy us new sneakers and clothes, so you just had to figure out how to do it yourself.
Wow, that's great. Now, drive is obviously a big part of you. Can you talk to that a little bit? Yes. And I guess I think when it comes to drive, and as I talk about a lot, perseverance, it really comes from within. So you either have it or you don't. And I don't think it's good or bad. I don't want to judge it if someone doesn't have drive or they don't. But inside of me, I have a lot of drive. From the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed, I'm thinking and moving, and I just cannot sit still. And it's just part of my makeup. It's part of who I am. And it gives me purpose every day to accomplish something, and it gives me that fuel
to remain present, but also to look forward and not behind.
Oh, that's fantastic. Now, American Real.
Yes.
Why we're both here. I've had the fortune of being with you through much of the journey, but I really want to hear about, how did you get started? Like, you've got this concept, we've been putting out American Real, we're nurturing your vision, but how did you start it and why?
Yeah, so I have to go back to my childhood a little bit, because ever since I was a young boy, I was fascinated with the camera and really being behind the camera, not sitting here in front of the camera, but
Sure.
The production of it. I would make videos with my friends. We would drive to Ithaca, which is about, as you know, about an hour away at the college, and we would film kids on the street, and we'd pretend we were a news crew, and we would go around and interview. I would interview people, and my friends would interview people, and I just always had a fascination with that. And then my business career diverted me, from the fun, things like working with a camera.
Sure.
I did take communications in junior college and did that for 2 years. So I really got to understand editing back before the digital age, to traditional editing. And it was always in the back of my mind as something that I love to do. I love to work on films and producing stories. So that was just part of my makeup. So fast forward now, 20 plus years, American Real was a byproduct of everything I've been working toward my entire career. So when I sat down with some friends of mine here in this building where we are right now, there was an idea thrown out to do a podcast. And I had been watching London Real at the time. And as soon as I heard that, I made the connection that that's something I wanted to do. And I took it very serious. And I started doing research, and I started figuring out what I would need to do to put my own podcast together. And I've told this story a couple of times, and it sounds actually a bit far-fetched, but about a week before I was getting ready to film the first episode, I received an email from Brian Rose at London Real, and it said, "Learn how to become a podcaster." So I looked into it, and what it was is he was teaching a course on podcasting, and it wasn't cheap. So I looked into it a little bit more, and I had to make a decision because it was starting like within a week or two. And I decided to go all in. So I took the course, and in that process, I asked for permission to use the name American Real because Brian made a statement some years ago that anyone who wants to use the real name could do so, as long as he approved it. So I checked with him. He approved American Real. He didn't really want me to use the entire country, but he did. And so I went all in, and I took this course very serious. I have a full-time job, so I was doing the course in addition to my full-time job, and just doing everything I could to learn as much as I could to be able to produce a show that has quality guests and quality stories that we could put out really good content to the world. So here we are in episode, about 35, and we're about 9 months into it, and it's now turning into, something real.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk about your guests for a moment. So how do you select your guests? What's the give and take? Are you learning from your guests? I imagine you are. What's the whole package there?
Yeah, absolutely. So about 10 years ago, I wrote a couple of coffee table books called Faces of the Southern Tier. And each edition, I selected 50 people from the community that did something special in their own niche. So whether it was a doctor or a karate instructor or an artist, I wanted to feature these people. So I had accumulated, a good network of folks through these books and just through my business career that I began to tap into. So that became, a place where I would reach out to folks that were in the book, and then some new people that I met over the last 10 years and have been asking them to come onto the show. In addition to, we do get requests into our website. I get requests from people on Facebook saying you should look into this person. I think they would make a great guest. And for now, we have been working with the local community. There's a lot of talented people here in upstate New York. However, we will be branching off and taking the show, as you know, on the road, so to speak. So we could go into New York, or we could go even further upstate to Rochester or Buffalo and set up shop and interview people there as well. So this is an evolving process for us, how we will attain the guests and continue to bring on guests. But the whole premise is I'm looking for people that have good stories that have something to lend to the world.
Well, and that's a great roll-in. So my next question is about our tagline, everyone has a story. Tell me a little bit about why that is so important to you.
Yeah, the tagline's important because that's what I really believe. I believe that whether I'm sitting here with you today and interviewing you, or I walk out on the street and I find someone, I bring them into the studio, or if it's a billionaire, or if it's someone that might be a great motivational speaker, whoever sits across from you has a story to tell. So it's my job to figure out how to tell that story and how to weave it through the conversation so it comes across as a piece of art. So that's what I really enjoy doing. I really believe that everyone has a voice. And everyone has a story, and everyone deserves to have that story be told.
And the telling's actually kind of interesting. So by my observation, we're at a point right now where media is shifting. TV, radio, newspaper used to be the big three through the whole period that both of us grew up in. Now, not so much. We're broadcasting over the internet, effectively. What's your thought on that shift of this paradigm of how media gets out there?
No, look, great question. And the fact of the matter is, and I listen to Gary Vee all the time, and he's very big on this, and he's sending this message all over the world. And I want to continue to spread that message, and that is, if you are not on Instagram, if you are not on Facebook, and if you're in the business world and you're not using Zoom, you're missing out, and you're going to be left behind. These platforms are the new newspapers, the new radios, the new medium to be able to give and receive information. And if I look at it two ways: either you produce content, or you're taking content in. One of the two. I am a producer of content, so anyone else who's out there and they want to produce content, and they, for their business, or if they're an entrepreneur, they have to be using these new platforms. They have to accept them. I don't necessarily want or like to use Facebook necessarily, to produce content every day, but to be in the game, you have to do it. It is a new medium. And the other thing is, those mediums aren't going to be here forever. So we have to be ready to accept the next ones, so whether it's virtual reality or whatever it may be, we need to go where the technology takes us. And that's just the reality of it.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. There's actually one technology you mentioned in there that I don't think not necessarily a lot of people know about, Zoom. So, and I've heard you talk about it in the past. You really feel it's like one of the most amazing inventions of late. Can you talk about that
Absolutely,
a bit?
yes. And again, Brian Rose from London Real turned me on to Zoom. It's the way he teaches his courses. So basically what it is, it's a video conference, and it could be with 2 people, or it could be with 200 people. So the interaction of being able to get on a call and see, kind of like the old Brady Bunch theme where there's people popping up in windows, throughout your computer screen, it's just amazing that you could communicate with people from all over the world in this medium. So I've been learning how to use Zoom and practicing Zoom, and even taking it into other places of my life, in my work world, where I'm communicating with potential clients, and it's just an incredible way to connect. We've been so focused over the last, I don't know, 5 to 7 years on texting, and we've lost that personal touch, even to be on the telephone with someone. Zoom allows you to be in front of them. It allows you to look into their eyes. It allows you to connect in such a way that it's really hard to explain unless you actually participate in it. It's just a really, really special platform, and I encourage anyone who is interested in building their business to really take a look at Zoom, which is, by the way, grossly they don't charge anything for the use of this platform. So it's very inexpensive to use.
That's really interesting. And it kind of drives into another idea. So you've already said there's this dichotomy of people between content producers and content consumers. And you've very clearly placed yourself as a content producer. It's something that's special to you. Where's that going for you?
Yes. Look, and again, the way I look at things is, if you're going to do something, no matter what it is in life, you have to do it at 100%. Because if you, so take Facebook, for example. If you go on, and I used to be in this boat, so I could speak to it firsthand. I never posted on Facebook. I maybe did 10 times a year, if that, things with my kids. And I felt odd, I didn't, why share all these personal things with the world? So, but once you make that commitment to be a producer of content, you need to stay consistent with it. And consistent means every day, sometimes multiple times a day, in order to stay in front of people. Because the way the algorithms are working today with Facebook, and they're mastering this, if your content is not constantly out there, it will get lost. So it's really important to stay consistent day to day with your posts, and not just on Facebook, on all platforms that you could think of. So Instagram and Twitter, and YouTube, and going live. I mean, there's all these platforms, but there's also smart technologies to help you do it so it doesn't take a lot of time. So for example, I could post, take 10 minutes of my day and post on every platform. And you could schedule posts so that when you're working or you're busy, they're releasing while you're just going through your normal day. So as long as you're smart about it, you could really put a lot of content out to the world.
Wow. So Facebook.
Yes.
And you and I both know this. You've been Facebook Live a lot. Not just a little bit. This isn't Roger just trying Facebook a bit more. This is a whole embraced new fold.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about this new practice that you have.
So I made a commitment about not long ago, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, that I would post live on Facebook every single day. And it's, again, for the same reasons I've just been talking about, to keep in front of people, to get the message out there. So look, the reality is, I know probably most of the people that I'm friends with, that I'm truly friends, people I went to high school and college with, are probably rolling their eyes every time they see me come up on their feed. And that's okay, I get it. I'm not doing it for that reason. The reason I'm doing it is because you need to stay top of mind and deliver relevant content, as I said, throughout the day. So the commitment to go live is something not only that I think is necessary for American Real, but it's necessary for me to become better at this craft, to be able to become a better communicator, to really start to put out relevant content and really think about what you're saying and to be present with it. Because when you're live, it's a whole dynamic. You do it. The nerves kick in, and it feels like you're going out on stage in front of people, even though you're just holding the camera in front of yourself. So it's an amazing phenomenon, and I encourage anyone who hasn't tried Facebook Live really to try to do it. And we have a medium, that I'm sure we'll touch on at some point to do so.
Yeah, well, let's actually talk about that a little bit. So we have the American Real Live Tribe, and I've been participating with it. You're obviously very, very active with it, and it's very clearly a growing thing. You talk about especially the 21-day challenge. That's a main element.
Sure. So about 6 weeks ago, I was introduced to a gentleman named Gav Carlos, who's out of Scotland. And he actually started this concept called Live Tribe 21, which is a 21-day challenge to go live every single day for 3 weeks straight for 60 seconds a day. And it sounds easy, okay? 1 minute, yes, I could do 1 minute a day live, and I decided to take the challenge on. This was the time I started to think about going live anyway, and to be going live more, so the timing was great. I tried it, and after about a week, I contacted him, and I said, Gav, would you be interested in helping me do this at American Real? And he had to think about it. At first, he said no, because it's a lot of work for him to administer the group. And then he thought about it. A couple days later, he came back and said, let's do it. I'm all in. So we started American Real Live Tribe 21. Michael, you've been through it, and so I don't have to tell you, but for me personally, it is changing me as a person because of all those reasons I mentioned. And in addition to becoming more present, it helps with commitment. It helps with accountability, with just showing up every day. It helps with reflection, to look back on your videos, to see how you're speaking to people. I mean, most of us don't like to do this. Most of us don't like to look in the mirror and speak or see ourselves on camera. It's pretty, discomforting. But what I'm learning is when you do it, you could make improvements, and all of the great speakers that I've ever talked to or been to seminars and whatnot all talk about the need to practice, the need to sit in front of the mirror and perform before they go on stage. Well, doing the 21-day challenge is a training ground for real life. So you're able to practice every day in front of a group of your peers in a private closed Facebook group that the videos do not get shared outside the group. And it's comforting to know that, okay, I could be myself, and I could do these live videos every day, and I could receive feedback from people, and it's just amazing. So, but the biggest part of all this, the biggest part of why I'm doing the Live Tribe is really the same premise of American Real. It's to give people a voice. It's to let them share their story. And at the end of the day, it's to help them become transparent. Mm-hmm. So they could become their true selves and become their best self.
That's really wonderful. I mean, I've enjoyed participating, and you do a wonderful job in terms of packaging it up. But I want to turn the focus a little bit back towards you. So we've known each other for a few months now. We've been working very, very closely together, and I have the benefit of being present at almost all of your interviews. One of the things that really strikes me about when you bring a guest to American Real is your capacity for listening. It's not a guided interview. It really is a stage where someone is listened to. Talk a little bit about the importance of listening to you, and also how you developed that as a personal trait, because it's genuine. It's not something you're putting on.
Yeah, so I have to give credit to my father, because at a young age, I played a lot of baseball, and at some point, it was probably 10 or 11, he sat me down and to give me some advice, and he said, the best thing I could tell you when you're out there and your coach is yelling at you and telling you what to do, the best thing to do is listen. Keep your mouth shut and listen. And as I got older, I always remembered that. So whether it was in the classroom or on the ball field or wherever I was, listening became a big part of who I am. I'm pretty much an introvert, as crazy as that sounds. I really don't like to be out in public that much. I do a lot of work alone. And, I've just found that listening is a trait that can help you get pretty far in life. So I've adopted that. Again, that's why I said earlier, I've been working all these years, I feel, for American Real. So now, bring it into the studio. And I'm in the studio when I'm interviewing someone to have a good conversation. I'm there for them. I'm not there for me. So I take a back seat. I'm the guy putting the questions out there, and some of them are going to be tougher than others, but that's my job to navigate that interview. But it's also my job to listen. It's my job to allow that person, that guest, to tell their story. And how could they tell their story if you're interrupting them? Or, if people that go on the news for an interview or even a 60 Minutes, it's very hard for the guest to reveal what they want to say in, 60 seconds. So here at American Real, we give, a long form platform of people really being able to share their story and tell it in a way that gives them the freedom where there's not a clock, that they have to worry about, squeezing it all in. So to answer your question, listening, yes, the power of listening, as I call it, is something very important to me. And it's something I want to help pass on to others, because I think no matter what career you're in, no matter what you do in life, it's a good trait to be a good listener.
That's really excellent. So, I've heard you talking about just yourself, traits, things like that. What about taking risks? Where do you fall in the spectrum of not being a risk taker or being a risk taker?
I'm a risk taker, for sure. However, I feel I am a calculated risk taker, and that I know exactly how far I could go before going too far. Meaning, I'm not going to put myself or my family in jeopardy, where I would set us back financially, or just on the path that I'm trying to go in my career. I've been very, very careful about actually putting out content. Until at American Real, I was extremely conservative with how I put myself out there. Today, I'm taking a lot more risk in doing that, but I feel so good about the risk that I'm taking that I feel it's worth it. So at this point, Michael, I am all in. I've committed to taking risk with this endeavor, and it's the biggest risk I've ever taken. But I also think, at least short term, it's been the biggest reward.
Well, it certainly shows. I mean, the effort level is incredible. And we have another thing kind of in the pipe. What about American Real Academy?
So, American Real Academy, again, Brian Rose being a mentor to me and looking at his model is this. So, American Real, our weekly talk show, is our base product. That's something we'll continue to do and put out every single Sunday. And actually, we're going to expand that, where I will be doing remote videos on Zoom, and we're going to air those on Wednesdays. So there'll be 2 days a week where we'll have content going out, which, by the way, I didn't tell you about yet.
That's all right. Just roll with the punches.
That's right. So, but here's where the Academy comes in. So the Academy is all this intellectual knowledge and property that I've been learning here at American Real, and even prior in my career as a loyalty and payments professional, I want to take all that knowledge and information and package it up and teach it to people through Zoom, through our live Zoom calls, where I could pass that on. I think it's really important while we're here on this earth, whatever information we have that could help others to pass that on. So that's where the Academy comes in. And, it's my mission, and it's an aggressive one, but I want to graduate, in the first 3 years, 10,000 people through that Academy. And, but we have to set goals, we have to set them high, and we have to go after those goals. So talk about taking risk and talk about getting aggressive. American Real is going to get very aggressive over the next 6 to 12 months in getting our intellectual knowledge out to the world. So that's where the Academy comes in. They will typically be 4 to 8 week courses where people will sign up online and take them. They'll be held accountable through an accountability document and go through the process. But by the time they're through that 4 or 8 week course, at the end, they will have something tangible that they could point to. So whether it's learning to become a better speaker, which we're going to call Real Talks, and be able to give a speech, that will be a course. Whether it's building your brand, whether it's learning to become a podcaster, we're going to take all this knowledge that we have and share it with the world.
Well, and I think the world is the key there. I've heard you talk in the past about wanting to elevate global consciousness and global awareness. Just speak on that for a little bit.
Yeah, it's a big undertaking, right? And I'm not the only one that's onto this. There's a lot of people trying to raise the level of global consciousness, and I want to be a big part of that. And to me, it starts with things like the Live Tribe. We're connecting with people all over the world. So through that connection, through like-minded, passion, when you could help spread a message, and whether it's spreading it to one person or 100 or 1,000 or 1,000,000 people, the key is to do it, to actually get it out there. Because what happens in social media, as we know, we could reach places far and wide that we've never been able to before. So my belief is, as long as you stay true to yourself and your convictions and what you're wanting to put out to the world, and it's good, positive, content, that will reach people far and wide. And that's how we're able to raise that global consciousness. So whatever percentage that may be, American Real has really now a responsibility to continue to help in this regard, help in this vein, to make the world a better place.
That's absolutely remarkable. Now, we've talked a lot on timetables. You've got your 1 week plan of everything you're committed to. You've got your couple month plan. You've got your 6 month plan, and everything is growing because of that level of commitment. What's Roger's 5-year plan? Everybody talks about having a 5-year plan. What's yours?
5-year plan. We will be doing 3 to 5 documentaries a year. We will have 6 to 8 courses that we teach throughout the year, happening in succession. We will continue to put out weekly episodes from the best guests that we could find. And we will be graduating as many people through our academy as we can to, again, raise that global consciousness. So American Real Media will continue to grow. And I'm sure there's things that I'm not even thinking of right now that will contribute to that growth. We want to employ people. We want to bring on a staff. That's the only way this is going to scale. And we'll be smart about it. We'll be responsible. We'll be thoughtful. but we will move forward, and it's really about connecting with the right people, making sure the right people are in my life, in the lives of those like yourself that is part of this family. And as we bring in people, even into our live tribe, there's people that started with us day one who will remain part of this growth, and they will become instructors in our courses. They will be part of the American Real Dream.
All right, so with so much going on, what about balance? It can't be all American Real all the time. Where or how does life balance and work balance fall into play for you?
It's tough. Balance is a very important word to me. And again, it goes back to my baseball days. Balance is really important in sports, and balance is really important in life. And the older I get, the better I become at balance. There's give and take with anything, and especially when it comes to something this large, and when you're having to, when people are relying on you to do something, and when I say people, I mean it could be someone on Facebook that's waiting for that episode to come out on Sunday morning. That's what gives me drive, okay? But at the same time, I have a family, I have a job and a career, and I have American Real. So balancing all that means working a lot, but it's what I love to do. So if it means only getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night, that's what I do. If it means sacrificing missing certain functions or events, that's what I do. So it's knowing how to adjust with that balance day to day to keep me sane, to keep my family sane, and just to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. So it's not easy. It's not easy, but as I said, I'm getting better at balance as time goes on.
Wow. Well, another part of your balance I know about is this novel. Tell us a little bit about the novel that's coming out.
Yeah, so I love writing. It's one of my passions. I would say next to American Real, they're neck and neck as far as what I really enjoy doing in life. And about 7 or 8 years ago, I started writing a novel. And about 4 years ago, I got really serious about it. And I actually hired someone to help me with structure and not so much the writing itself. He's a mentor of mine. His name is James Bonnet, and he's a story consultant. So every Friday night at 6 p.m., Jim and I Skype, and we talk about the specific chapters that we're working on. And I've now literally been through probably 10 drafts of the book, but it's nearing completion. So it is something that is a big part of my story and who I am. And God willing, in about a year from now, I will be able to truly share the journey of writing this novel. And I think, like anything that I put my heart and soul into, I feel that people are really going to benefit from this novel, because honestly, it comes from a place far bigger and greater than me.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. So in a year, I expect my copy.
Absolutely.
Now, elevation. You touched on this for just a second, but I know it's important to you in terms of this elevating of people around us, or the people we identify with as being our peer group. Mm-hmm. Is that something that, I know it's something you're aspiring to. Do you feel it's something that you've started to become enabled to do?
Yes, inherently. And I think that you are who you surround yourself with. Mm-hmm. If you look in your phone and look who your last 10 texts came from, or who's on your favorites, those are probably the people that you surround yourself with the most. And, look, it's hard, but I've had to really scale back on communication with people that may not be great for me in my life, maybe a little bit too negative. And I think that's okay. I think you really have to, we're here first and foremost on this earth for ourselves, because if we are not healthy ourselves, then we cannot help others. So it's important for me to surround myself with people that I care about and that are like-minded and that have the same, lofty goals as me.
Well, speaking of the people that we surround ourselves with, you have another half.
Yes.
What does your wife think of all of this?
Yeah. Sabrina is a special person. I am very, very fortunate that she is so good as far as letting me be me. And really, I mean, if you think about it, and I think about it, I don't know if I could do what she does. I mean, she's sitting back, watching me do all this crazy things and wondering, where is this going to go? So talk about taking risks. I think she's taking a big risk. But deep down, we have a great relationship. We are soulmates. We trust each other. And I could not do anything in life to this capacity, without her and without her, blessing.
Wow, well, that's just remarkable to have that kind of support so very, very close to you.
Yeah.
So as we're kind of wrapping up here, why put yourself on the spot like this? Like, you already mentioned that when you got into this kind of more extroverted side of yourself, you were behind the camera. You're interviewing people. You're a listener first, a storyteller second. Why have I moved from behind the camera and now you've switched sides of the set? Why put yourself on the spot like this?
Yeah, I think it's for growth. For me to grow as an interviewer, for me to grow as a person, for American Real to grow, I think people need to see me. They need to understand a little bit more about who I am and how I tick. And again, I learned that from Brian. And it's healthy to change things up. It's healthy to put yourself on the spot. It's healthy to be vulnerable and to be in this position that I'm not normally in. So again, every day I just look at this as an opportunity. I look at being on this side, this chair, as an opportunity for me to express myself a little bit more than I normally do. And, to be honest, I think that being uncomfortable is okay because it helps us get to a better place.
I couldn't agree with you more. This has been a remarkable journey for me, getting to know you, helping your vision of American Real come to fruition. Thank you so much for sitting down. This was wonderful for me. I think for the people that watch this episode, like you said, getting to know Roger Brooks more and to understand why what's happening in front of them is happening is only an enriching thing. So this has been fantastic.
Thank you so much,
Roger.
Michael. Appreciate it.